please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Prakash Diwan, market expert, joins and now he's here with us in the studio. Hi Prakash, good morning. Thanks for joining us. I wanted to start by asking you about Interglobe because there's so much talk about grounding of aircrafts and Lata's a bit worried. You know, she has a flight to take as well tomorrow. So first, should she be worried? And two, what would you do with this stock?
So I hope there's nothing to worry for the passengers. There could be a little bit of concern for stakeholders, for shareholders, but you know, and especially when you hear these kind of news that a flight to Ahmedabad was grounded and I mean was made to land on an emergency situation, and you heard the Bangladesh episode.
Oh, Nepal, I think.
So so it does tell you that. I think it's more to do with the kind of pressure that our airlines are facing in terms of the infrastructure bottlenecks. It's as simple as that. We are still so weak on MRO. We are still so weak on runway availability. In fact, I'm told Bombay has 900 flights taking off and landing every day with just a single run.
They were pulled up for 2 rapid takeoffs.
Yeah, and someday, it's a disaster waiting to happen. Someday some mistake happens and it'll suddenly make us realize that it's the same thing that you had in the Elphinstone stampede issue. So, then you suddenly realize that this was badly required. We should have stopped increasing traffic. And what's happened to the 14 aircraft that have got grounded? Of course, 3 of them are already out of circulation from the Indigo side. The entire schedule gets thrown out of whack, and that's, the forward flights, the connecting flights, everything kind of becomes a mess. So it's definitely going to impact Interglobe in some way where it's not going to be very positive. But fortunately for them, Pratt & Whitney actually compensate for the loss of flights. That's part of the deal. So that might be a little bit of a mitigating factor, but I think there'll be a sentimental pressure, and it tells you that the bottlenecks are what's going to inhibit any kind of a growth for these airlines.
Prakash, good morning. What about TCS this morning? Do you think this block deal is going to present a buying opportunity?
It could. See, the 2 factors. One is, the free float. The increase in the free float market cap itself is going to make sure that the weightages move up for ETFs and a lot of these funds that track the index. So very clearly that's going to propel some sort of a buying, and you don't have such quantity of TCS stock available at these kind of prices, even if you had to add. And in today's markets, look at what's happening. The only sector that's probably been a little bit defensive in the last, Jan to Feb sell-off period has been IT. So there would distinctly be that, flight to safety of sorts for a lot of investors getting into IT at these levels. And some of the larger players have not yet, appreciated so much in terms of the price movement, which is where, the attractiveness goes up. The mid-caps have done well. The prices have moved up, the likes of KPIT, Hexaware, NIT, Sonata, you look at all of them, but it's the big ones that like Infi, TCS, Wipro that still offer a little bit of headroom.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a boring question. Will you buy any of the banks? And I particularly mean banks like Axis and ICICI, because I mean there is a big NPA recognition that they will have to do because of the recent RBI rules. But in my sense, that's really flushing out the poison. Would you look at it positively?
No, so, this thesis of the cleansing activity coming to an end or troughing out has been around for a while. So
no, but this is genuinely a big one.
I agree. So this could probably be the last call of sorts for.
It is the second AQR, no two ways about it. But good that it's happening.
But I would still buy it post the impact being absorbed by the market, because you really don't know in terms of any tweaks to the regulation that could happen that dilute the whole this thing. We've seen that happen. For instance, I remember you pointing out when the default by companies was to be notified and SEBI had
then they pulled it back.
And they pulled it back right at the 11th hour. So there could be some tweaks to that. So I would just buy in anticipation of that. But the bottoming out process on banks, not just the private corporate facing banks, but even the PSUs is so distinctly on. I mean, you look at an Andhra Bank, you look at an IOB. I'm not saying these are viable names, but just to kind of put things in perspective. At some stage, at some price, some of these banks will become attractive. So you don't have to you can't time the bottom in any case, but start looking at them at some stage soon.
Okay. Since the market, is giving us some good opportunities, I wanted to ask you about some spaces. Consumer durables, consumer non-durables. The numbers are looking very good on the IIP front. Any of these companies, Blue Star, Whirlpool, Hitachi Home, have all started to pick up now. Anything in that space that you've liked recently?
So Hitachi, of course, but it's so illiquid, you try to buy it in slightly liberal quantities and you actually end up paying 5-7% higher yourself, So that's one of the downsides with this counter. But I think, what's going to happen is, I'm still of the belief that the way money is coming into the rural side of the business, whether it's, capital goods, whether it's, even media, regional media for that matter, NBFCs, particularly MFIs. I think the whole focus is going to shift there, and there's going to be a lot of capital creation that will, lead to demand, consumption demand getting spurred in the rural markets. So if you look at those segments, it's going to be tremendously beneficial. So you could look at consumer goods which are focused there. So you'd start with the basics like Bajaj Electrical. Look at what Bajaj Electrical has done in this 3 months. It's actually moved from 500 levels to 570. You don't have stocks like, you look at a Godrej Agrovet. We spoke about it when it was about 600, sub 600. Today, it's one of the strongest names in that segment. So I would look at some of these which will be the first areas where people would see some spending. And regional media is a completely underrated thing. You'll probably find, and then we're getting into election season of sorts the next 18 months.
Yes.
Regional media is going to be busy minting a lot of money.